Some UFC fans see the Octagon for the first time on a friend's TV or at a sports bar. But for strawweight Vanessa Demopoulos, that introduction came at a strip club. While working as an exotic dancer, Demopoulos went to MMA training at the suggestion of a coworker, and she instantly fell in love. Swapping the stage for the gym, Vanessa set her sights on making it to the UFC. After an impressive run on the regional scene, she reached that goal in 2021, and now Lil Monster shares her story in this edition of Origins.
Lil Monster, Vanessa Demopoulos.
She is a fighter at her core. She says the mixed martial arts pays her soul.
I am a performer in every sense of the word.
She's tough, she's durable. She's experienced those highs and those lows. Her attitude about fighting and competing is very strong.
I love the crowds, I love the stage. I love you guys. And I'm honored to be able to share that with people. To be able to dance in front of people, to be able to fight in front of people.
She tapped Vanessa Demopoulos!
Amazing.
Gets it done!
Amazing.
I'm definitely born to be an entertainer. My whole life has been that. I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. Mom and dad were in the entertainment industry my whole life growing up. My mom was a dancer and my dad was a DJ. It was kind of a lot of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Being raised by two people that were all about that life wasn't necessarily ideal. My grandparents ended up getting custody of us. They took us back to Greece, which was their homeland. My childhood in Greece was very simple. Very humble, small town vibes for sure. I moved back to the United States when I was like 9 years old. Having to learn English all over again was really hard. I got bullied a lot. I was an angry kid. I got suspended from 4 schools in 1 calendar year. I was so unruly in the household. I ended up getting kicked out of the house that we were living in and had to live out of my car. I found myself just caught up with a lot of things that I definitely shouldn't have been, drugs being on that list. I felt really lost. A bunch of friends of mine, we had gone to a strip club. At the time, I was working in a factory, and I had like 2 weeks worth of my paycheck that a girl just ended up taking away from me in several minutes of time. And I was like, oh my goodness, like she just took 2 weeks of my pay and in like less than 10 minutes, I was like, what am I doing? Like this looks like a super fun job. I get to do pole dancing and I get to have fun and smile and make money doing it. And it was something I was very comfortable with because I knew it was the industry my parents had come from. I started to dance at the clubs. Dancing really like helped me feel a lot of empowerment. I got to get a lot of that energy that I had out, but it also provided me financial security. You know, get to support myself and not have to worry so much about like where I was gonna get food from. Pole dancing saved me in a lot of ways. It like scared me sober. I started taking things a lot more professionally and living my life the way I wanted to. It was a stepping stone versus a gravestone for me. There was a manager at the club at the time. He saw my skills on the pole and he was like, you know, if you put that same effort that you put into pole dancing into something like fighting, you might be able to do something. I was like, all right, cool, man, teach me how to fight. I remember the first time I ever stepped into the gym to do a Muay Thai class. It was like literally the hardest thing I had ever done. I threw up, I almost passed out about 4 times. But the way fighting made me feel, it was the only thing I ever wanted to do. I definitely knew that I wasn't gonna quit.
Let's go.
For me, dancing and fighting are very similar. You have to have very good spatial awareness, flexibility, dexterity, and that translates beautifully into jiu-jitsu.
Vanessa, Lil
like Demopoulos is considering going for an arm bar here.
Got it. Straight now, that's it. Wow. Demopoulos.
That was incredibly impressive.
Got to incorporate a lot of the pole dancing moves into jiu-jitsu.
Demopoulos gets the submission.
Well, what a personality Vanessa Demopoulos is. She said pole dancing is her everything. It's what got her into fighting.
LFA was freaking awesome. Every fight was tough.
Demopoulos really has taken her fight game up a level.
It was a perfect breeding ground for a UFC fighter.
Demopoulos has her in a very dangerous submission attempt. Oh. And she's out! She's over! Oh my goodness! Are you kidding me? They are in trouble! Demopoulos knocking and out!
I knew that UFC was my goal. Like, I was making the run.
Like I said, the scripts were flipped. The grappler knocked out the striker.
Vanessa Demopoulos ready to get inside the octagon tonight for the UFC debut.
My UFC debut was on a 1 week's notice, up a weight class against a veteran in JJ Aldridge. But I was ready for the challenge.
Demopoulos has boasted that she has no fear. Once the door closes, there's nothing that's going to happen to her that she's not able to take.
Yeah, wow.
She was a much more seasoned opponent than myself, much more skilled than I was ready for.
Demopoulos, you know, she's game. She's got the fire, she's got the fighting spirit, but JJ's just too technical here tonight.
Winner by unanimous decision, JJ Aldridge.
At this time, I was still dancing, basically running on fumes all the time. I would be dancing 3-4 nights on the weekends and then training 3 to 4 times a day. It was pretty exhausting. I remember being in the Fighter Hotel. I would look out of my window and it was staring at the Hustler Club that I was working at. I couldn't believe that I lived these two very contrast lifestyles. I was getting ready for my next UFC fight. I was deep into fight camp. I was putting my makeup on to get ready for work. And I was just looking at myself in the mirror and I'm just like, I just don't have the energy. I didn't have the energy to be able to go out there and be entertaining and be this awesome gymnast on the pole for 8 hours. I just didn't have it. I didn't have the juice.
Okay, let's go. Her dancing is a full-time job. I said, hey, you've got to stop because if you want to be committed, you got to go all in.
I was like, do I want to keep splitting my time and efforts? Or do I actually believe in myself that I am good enough to be a UFC athlete, to really make it in this game and to be a full-time fighter like I dreamed of? I didn't have the means to quit, but I did. I walked away from the industry and never looked back.
Second UFC appearance for Vanessa Demopoulos, and man, does she enjoy this job. She is a fighter at her core.
I put all my efforts into the training camp for UFC 270, and there was a lot on the line for me, having walked away from my job.
If I'm Demopoulos, I'm going forward, cutting angles, trying to set traps to get her skirting along the side of the octagon.
She hit me with an overhand that was so clean.
Massive right from Gomez Juarez.
Huge shot.
I was doing jiu-jitsu on autopilot.
She might set up an armbar here.
It looks like she's gonna get an armbar.
She's looking to hook and sweep. That's it right there.
Oh my God.
That's it, she got it.
What a rally, Vanessa Demopoulos.
Wow, amazing.
Gets it done.
Amazing. After getting dropped by that big right hand, what composure, what warrior spirit.
That ended up winning me a bonus in the UFC, and I was able to just change my entire life from that moment moving forward.
Congratulations.
Joe! Oh my God, it's Joe Rogan. Oh, what's up?
Congrats. All your hard work. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos.
Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa Demopoulos
one's had a path as hard to the UFC. Came through the school of hard knocks. She was very aggressive as a child, always getting in fights.
I don't care what adversity anybody is currently experiencing. You can create a larger story from that. I wasn't supposed to be anything. I was just a up and somebody who didn't accomplish anything. But it didn't matter what it took. I was going to make it happen.
Oh! Huge shot from Demopoulos.
I created greatness from that story.
Oh, huge elbow.
Now I get to be in an arena fighting in front of millions of people.
What a rally, Vanessa Demopoulos!
I believed in me until other people did.